So I'm here today with my group, Morris and Chums, and we're putting on a game based on the Spanish Middle Ages.
Okay, and how long has this been in the making for, James?
Oh, since I was a kid, probably. When I was a child, my dad sat me down to watch the film El Cid with Charlton Heston. But realistically, I started painting stuff for this about 20 years ago. Most of this hasn't been out of the loft for some years, so it's brilliant to get back to a show and actually be able to get it out on the table.
How many figures do you think you've got on the table there?
I haven't even counted. Several hundred.
And how long has it taken, do you think, to get it all to this point today? Have you spent the pandemic painting, or what have you done?
I painted a fair bit in the pandemic, but not this actually. But one of our group, Paul, was back. He's been in the States for the last 5 years. He came back recently. He's been painting a lot of figures for this. So we thought, let's get the El Cid collection out on the table again. So we've been planning the game for 2 or 3 months, really. So not a great deal of time. It's just been a question of adding a few new figures, reorganising stuff, touching up broken figures, and just planning the scenery, really.
And what impact do you think that wargaming, that the pandemic has had on wargaming overall?
I would say that wargaming has kept me sane during the pandemic. Despite the fact we've not been able to meet up, we have been able to run games over Zoom and so forth. We've all been painting and sharing things on social media. The impact on wargaming itself, obviously we've been meeting up and gaming in person a lot less, but I know some of the traders have done quite well, at least at the start of the pandemic, when people are starting to buy in more supplies and so forth. It's been fairly profound. I think we've all missed being at a show like this for the last 18 months. And for some, I know many of my friends today are not coming out because they are clinically vulnerable. They're concerned about being out in this big group of people today, despite the precautions. And I really feel for them at the moment because, in a sense, some of us are getting back to normal and some of us are having to wait a bit longer for that. So I think it has been profound, but certainly in terms of groups of friends online, and we were talking about this earlier about how social media has been used to bring groups of gamers together over the pandemic and sort people, I think that's been really deep.
The game today is a Paraguayan war game. Now this was fought between 1864 and 70. It's quite unknown in this country, and that's probably why it's receiving quite good results here, because people haven't really heard of the war that much. 1 or 2 people have, but it's still quite new over here. So it's nice and fresh. It's always nice and fresh. People who are stuck at home painting, they go back to the hobbies, I think, because you can't go anywhere, can't go on holiday. So I think a lot of people spend money on what they love, which is hobbies. It's the first time people got together for 18 months, and it's brilliant. And so many fantastic games all around. Haven't been very far, but yeah, I think you can see what people have been working on over lockdown. A lot of people come up and say, "What's that?" Because it's unusual. It's an unusual period. But they seem to have approving, everybody seems to be interested in it. Well, sort of have an interest, yeah. Well, 2 years, really, in the making, to get figures made. I sculpt the figures and cast them. I do paint up, and have been over lockdown quite a lot myself, but there's about 5 other figure painters, professionals, which are better than us, who actually do it professionally, and we send them out to them as well. So getting this lot done has taken about 2 years.
Yeah, I think for some people certainly they've had a bit more hobby time available. So certainly the quality of the games here is always very high, but people obviously had a lot of time to put into their hobby, and that's for lots of them that will have been a good thing for them. Something to focus on, something to exercise their brains a bit, so they're not feeling alone or fed up or whatever. So yeah, I guess for most people, hobby time is a good mental health time. So it helps them to get through difficult times. I think all hobbies are good for people in terms of having an interest, something to focus on, something to to spend time doing. I think wargaming is quite unique in that it's got different aspects. So there's the history side of things. People spend a lot of time researching the history. There's the creative side, painting, collecting stuff, and then there's the more social side, like today, where you're actually gaming face to face. So wargaming has an unusual thing, and it has more than one aspect to it. So putting the three different things together, some people prefer the painting, some people do much more of the history stuff, some people are just into the gaming. So different aspects that work for different people, and all of that's good for people's mental health generally.
And do you enjoy organising? It looks like a lot of work to get into it. There's obviously a lot of people depend on it. It's a very popular show. What's it like to organise?
We've been running this show for 35 years now. And there have been times when I thought my hobby was organising shows rather than being a wargamer myself. So it does take a lot of time. Now we've done so many, it kind of falls into place. But it's a thing that we've done originally for the club when it existed. More recently we just kept going because it's an important thing for other people, I think. Being in the centre of the country, we've got almost a unique kind of location, but also we're very close to the heart of the wargaming industry as well. So there are a few of the people that you've talked to already who don't go to many shows but come to this show because it's effectively their local show.
And it must have been quite frustrating having to set dates that then got cancelled and then not really knowing when you'd be back. How does it feel to be back?
It's great to be back. What we did to keep things going is we actually ran some virtual online stuff on the dates we would have had the shows, just to keep the sort of community feel going. But there's nothing beats really being back and seeing people face to face. And wargaming is quite a sort of aesthetic, tactile kind of thing, so actually seeing physical models in front of you is a big part of the hobby for many people. And as you will have seen, the quality of the games here is great, so it's really nice to see everyone back.
Do you think you can see it in the tables and that people have had a bit more time, so they've had a bit more thought than they even would do already, if you'd be able to see?
Yeah, I think so. There are certain. We've been lucky because we always used to be part of the magazine scene. The magazines being located near here. We started off with getting some very good quality games because people knew the photographs would go in the Wargames magazines. But that's continued. And even the participation games, which are a bit more abstract, the quality of the terrain and stuff on there is great. On some of the bigger games, you could definitely, we've had people ask for an extra bit of space because they've had more time to do stuff. So, I think the quality definitely shows.